working hard at the steering wheel. You can see just juggling the car.
This is me. Sim racer for 3 years and lover of power and performance for many years prior. Growing up as a kid, I always said I wanted to be a race car driver, but unlike a lot of others, that never changed. Now, I'm pushing as hard as I can to take the step from the virtual to the physical. This is my race to reality.
It's lights out and away we go!
Hi guys, and welcome to episode 0 of this new series, Race to Reality. Today I wanted to take the opportunity to introduce myself and walk you through just about where I am in life. So, who am I? Well, in case you didn't know, my name is Cian Butler, and I'm an impassioned motorsport fan and potential hopeful to drive in real life. For as long as I can remember, I've loved the sound of roaring engines and could never get enough of the feeling of pure, unadulterated speed, though it wasn't much more than a fun pastime for years. The earliest racing game I remember playing extensively was NASCAR Heat 2002 on the original Xbox. Whether it was running a full race distance and trying to see how many times I could lap the field, or putting in that classic cheat code to fire cement balls at my friends. Yes, that was the thing. I would spend the 1 hour a day I was allowed, driving around classic circuits I would years later recognize. Example, Watkins Glen and Sonoma. 30 years, I've always enjoyed racing games, but it wasn't until I got into them fully with Forza Motorsport 7 that I started making the push to esports. I joined my first team in February 2018, Lightspeed Endurance Motorsport. I found these guys through a stream I was watching on Mixer, and after a few sessions with them I began competing in the LSCM 100, a weekly get-together of drivers in a private GT lobby. Before long, I had joined LSCM with my friend Codependent. Really, it was awesome to be in a group of like-minded individuals who were focused primarily on having a good time, but the team slowly started evolving to more than that, and soon enough, we set our sights on higher and higher goals. My first organized racing event was the 12 Hours of Sebring, hosted by the Online Racing Association. I remember it vividly. I took the first and last stint for my team because of the time zone difference, and though I worked hard to try and get our team in its best position as possible, we started towards the front of the third split in the prototype field. I made mistakes. It was my first race. I think I crashed out towards the end of my first stint. But I remember I was second in both of my stints by a sizable margin, and the whole time I'd be giving it everything to make sure we weren't the only car that was lapped by the fastest car in the P2 grid. Thus, to somewhat little success. Fast forward a few months to June, and I was playing a heavy part in the team's running, and my pace had increased substantially. Coming from C lobby to qualifying 13th, I think it was, in A lobby for the 24 Hours of Le Mans from, once again, Tora, was a massive improvement from myself and the team, and one that I was really quite proud of. What followed was a campaign that saw us not necessarily the quickest, but consistent throughout, not having any major connection issues, ultimately scoring our first podium in a major endurance event. This was an awesome moment, one that I'll forever cherish in terms of my journey through sim racing. A few months later, I took on the role of team leader full-time and began trying to elevate the team. But what had me most excited was the announcing of the Le Mans Esports series on Forza. Since this game had been where I spent most of my time learning tracks and cars, I thought I might have an outside chance of qualifying. I was by no means one of the fastest in the region at that point, but it never hurt anyone to give it their best go. So, knowing I had the potential to reach the top 10, I gave it my all for the penultimate round of the competition to take place on, you guessed it, Sebring. The track seemed to have a way of popping up every time there was an important crossroads for me, and indeed this was one of those times. I made the choice that if I didn't manage to qualify this round, that would be it for me. I'd be starting a new uni course shortly after, and I didn't want to be spending countless hours racing and let it affect the start of my next step in my education. So the pressure was on. Well, I'll spare you the suspense. After an early accident with my teammate that should purely be attributed to lag, I managed to make up enough ground to qualify, and boy, what a feeling it was. I was going to France. I'd be joined by one of the Forza greats, current Ripple Racing esports driver Robin Bedka, aka Box, and a current teammate of mine who I met through the event, Mariano, aka Eternity. I won't go too much into my time in France as I talk about it on my website, which you should really go check out. In fact, I'll link the article to the top right hand corner of the screen. And, well, when we all left France, we came home with $4,000 to our name, 4 race wins under our belt, and the experience of a lifetime watching the 24 hours of Le Mans, which has become even more valuable considering the current events of the world and the fact that it's impossible to attend the event this year for the majority of fans. In every event I competed in after that, I'd always hold myself to a really high standard, and even to this day, when I fail to achieve what I believe I'm capable of, or make a mistake that severely impacts the race or myself and my teammates, well, it's honestly a little crushing. But that's something to get into on another video. What I want to talk about now is where I've been this year, and how things have turned out. At the start of the year, I was lucky enough to head off to the Autosport International Invitational event for Le Mans Esports. Again, the link to the write-up will be in the top right. Long story short, we came fourth, I managed to split the fastest lap, and made some valuable connections there along the way, with a few business opportunities I will pursue in the next months. One of them had actually lined up into a paying position, but then 2020 struck and wiped away a lot of what I had worked on for the past 6 months, especially when I got sick for close to 2 months. My fitness took a big hit, I had to defer my semester's units, and those aforementioned opportunities dried up, leaving me with what felt like absolutely nothing at the time. But resilience is key, and so I've spent most of 2020 doubling down on my fitness, building and expanding my connections, starting a role as social media manager at Game on Oz, and branching out into new platforms and simulators. I managed to qualify for the 2020 Le Mans Esports Series alongside Williams Rich and RBM Gui, coming close to winning 2K USD. I took a stab at Race Room, GT Sport, the F1 Series, just to name a few. And more recently, I've been competing in Assetto Corsa Competition and R Factor 2. And that pretty much leads me to today, where I'm trying to make my way towards my end goal, to drive cars in real life, which is where you guys join me. In this series, I'll be highlighting some of the steps I'm taking to try and make that goal a reality. We'll be having episodes every 2 weeks, with the first full video releasing next week. During all this, I want to hit areas that I think are really important to being a driver. Things such as mental health and fortitude, physical fitness and training, and how to practice effectively. But overall, I'm pretty excited to hit play on this whole project. So join me next week for the first episode of Race to Reality. And thank you for joining me on this preface. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I can't tell you how excited I am to get going and just how glad I am to have each and every one of you along for the ride. So thank you all for being here from the start. For every 10 subscribers we can get here on the channel, I'll be giving away one custom tote bag with the logo for the channel on it. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow me on Twitter because we're gonna be doing things through there, so I need to be able to contact you if you do win something. So make sure you follow me on Twitter, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be announcing the winners on Sunday on Twitter. So yeah, thank you so much for watching and have a great one.